Thank you.
Okay, thank you again, Rohit. So today's topic is Agile HR in the era of new normal. To give a brief background of the talk or discussion we have today, I think all of you know that Agile was mainly focused on software development, but over the years, I believe over probably more than 20 years, it has pushed the boundary and traversed into all the different areas of the organization. So when we talk about agility or agile, we don't only focus on the software development as such. So essentially in the market, you see that past probably 10 plus years, we are now talking about complete organizational agility, which stemmed out of the need of business agility in the world of disruption. So the way the world is changing, the business needs agility to sustain and lead instead of just dying out. So to support the business agility, you need the organization to be agile. And when you talk about the organization needs to be agile as part of the organizational agility, one of the most impacted area is HR function. So though HR function is the most impacted area, we don't see much talk or discussions happening in this area. So that's the background of why we want to talk about Agile HR and how it is being impacted in the new era of the new normal, what we are calling. So gone those days where the HR policies are written once and never broke it, never to break for years. Protecting it against obvious needs and demand of the world. Now, HR is core part of business, and the initial reaction of this organization agility came through, as we all know, through bringing a concept or work on BPHR, the business partner of HR. So we are not talking about HR function probably separate from the business. We are talking about HR being partner to the business so that they are more involved into the business side of the company. So the function of HR has changed from creating discipline and policy-driven approach to focusing on innovation. So innovation is not only into the development field now. The HR is heavily involved to initiate and probably support the whole organization for innovation, creativity, collaboration, and betterment of the employees in the context currently we have. So while some of the companies have already transformed, I'm sure the very few companies are there, I don't know of any, which is still latching towards the old, very strong, disciplined, agile, disciplined way of policy-driven HR. They have become flexible, but even if what they were flexible at least the HR function had a boundary. The boundary was mainly the office, the boundary was the office walls. I believe with the new normal where everybody's at home, the boundary of the office is broken and the scope of HR or the boundary of HR has been probably every home now, extended to every home now. So that's a new normal where we were only office focused around in the office, within the boundary of the office. Now the world is open. So now you can have somebody in Hyderabad company hiring a guy in US and working remotely. And the whole world became open for the whole office in that sense. So today we'll be looking at some of these challenges, what the typical HR function is facing, or what are the benefits we are getting out of this as well, not only challenges we discuss in the new normal. So that being said, I would request everybody to introduce themselves. Before going there, I'll introduce myself very quickly. My name is Shantanu Bhattacharya, and I worked in the industry for 26 plus years. My last company was EPAM Systems in Hyderabad, which is a NASDAQ listed company with probably $16 billion valuation now. I joined in Hyderabad this company, which was acquired by, finally EPAM, as 80 people company, and grew that company to 1,500 plus people company. Played all the role, including HR, writing HR policies, because there's a small company. Even I am delivering delivery, we had to participate in doing everything in the company. So that being my background, I'm very, very, proponent of agile approach in all walks of life, including personal agility. That's where I'll stop. So I'll move to, say, Lekha. Lekha, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Shantanu. And hello to all the participants of this wonderful title conference of Agile HR. To introduce myself, I'm Lekha Sishta. I was till quite recently, till December, I was in the corporate chair. So I've spent over about 40 years in corporate India. And now I've taken on my second innings as a strategic advisor to small companies, especially startups. That's what I enjoy most, as well as I'm a management faculty. I love doing things. I love teaching. And also I'm very enthused about women empowerment. So that's about me in a nutshell, and I guess you'll get to know me as time goes on. Thank you.
Thanks, Lekha. Shubhro, why don't you go next?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the participants as well for joining in for this conference. Hi, everyone. My name is Shubhro Bakchi. I am a senior project manager in the HR strategy and transformation space of Deloitte Consulting Services. I have more than 15 plus years of experience, and I graduated from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. I bring in varied industry experience over my past more than 15 years in the corporate world, and I'm really excited to be part of this conference and looking forward to interact with all of you, and I'm very privileged to be part of this panel along with all the dignitaries in part of this panel. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Shubhro. Let me go to Manish. Manish, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Manish Chawla. Thanks for inviting Shantanu. So this is my introduction is I'm 20 plus years experience in IT industry. I started off with IBM, then moved to EDS, Capgemini, and currently I'm with Microsoft for almost 9 years. Play different kind of roles under management. Currently under Agile leadership, I've delivered sessions on Agile within Microsoft. Taking learning sessions, readiness. So I'm a key, as you said, passionate about Agile delivery, and excited to be part of this community, NI community, and this session. Thanks, Shantanu.
Thank you, Manish. Raj, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hello all. Good afternoon. Thanks for this opportunity to be part of this great discussion. My name is Raj Tota. I work as a principal advisor for Tech Mahindra in the consulting space. My specialty is in designing agility and design thinking. I consult mainly to the CX, transforming CXO's agenda, and also in terms of training and coaching. I'm very passionate. I'm already in SPC. I'm also a design thinking professional from Darden School of University. I've got 20 plus years of experience, and look forward to interacting with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Bobby, you want to go next? Bobby? You are muted, Bobby. You need to unmute you. Maybe Bobby is having some technical problem. We are expecting a little bit of it because...
Hi.
Bobby, we cannot hear you now. Sorry, Bobby.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody.
I think I need to skip Bobby for now a little bit because I'm sorry about that to all participants, because we really want to have Bobby part of this conversation. She is now in Kerala, and it's raining heavily, and her network was not stable. We'll see if we can bring her back and with a stable voice at least, if not video. So that being said, let's jump into the discussion today, right? And as you have seen, right, we have a good balance of people, senior people or leaders from delivery as well as HR. So I'm expecting we'll get different kind of perspective as well. So let's start with a basic thought or question. How do you differentiate between, say, traditional HR and agile HR? We are talking about agile HR here. So let's discuss that a little bit to start with. So, Lekha, you want to start?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Shantanu, this is a great question, and I think it really sets the trend for the entire discussion today. As far as I'm concerned, we've already had a transition from traditional HR some time back. So it's not really only with Agile. I think the move from traditional HR to talent management was a really huge step, where we started looking at people not just as a resource, but as capital, and not just as capital, as people with a developmental focus, right? So earlier, when we looked at traditional HR, it was more like playing the cop role, right? It was just about policies and processes and absenteeism and grievance handling and a lot about transactions. Whereas I think the move towards talent management itself gave a new thrust, because we now started looking at people not only towards what they can give to the organization, but how do we develop them to actually go one step ahead, even perhaps beyond what they expected their potential to be. The move towards agile HR, therefore, has been only a marginal change, where we are saying that, we now need to be so flexible with what we are doing and be able to go back and look at things on a periodic basis, so that we're continuously able to keep changing the course, because people change. They're not the same in the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. So the way in which they change, I think we need to keep changing the way in which we deal with them and what we can do to be able to help them. The other focus, according to me, that agile HR brings is the fact that people themselves are agile, right? In the sense that they're going to keep moving. We know that they're not going to stay with our company throughout, but we definitely do want them to become brand ambassadors. So it is to be able to match not just what the organization wants out of them with their strengths, but also what they want out of the organization for their careers. And therefore, what can we do to be able to help that to happen, so that they look back on our company with a very positive frame of mind and will become our brand ambassadors in the tomorrow? So, according to me, it's a lot of change that has happened, but the largest jump was perhaps about a decade or a decade and a half back. We moved from that traditional HR and IR and absenteeism to talent management, and now agile is only a process change. That's what I would like to start with, Shantanu.
Oh, that's a great point, Lekha. I really wish the day will come when no company will have a department called HR. They will have a talent management department. That day I will be looking forward to. Thank you very much. We have still see people are using.
Yeah, so couple of points just to add what Lekha said. I think, we have already started the journey. Traditional HR, in my view, was more like, they were measuring like in, compliance based, metrics, like, people are supposed to do XYZ activities. It was a very narrow path of growth for the employees. Wherein the Agile HR, they talk about more of trust and, openness and, giving more opportunities to the employees or, for the talent management. And we already started the journey. And second, I think, is probably the traditional HR is like they're producing managers who are like very transactional in nature. They used to come probably once in a year, do appraisal, and then for the rest of the year, they'll be showing faces, once in a month. Wherein now, if you see Agile HR, it's more of a collaborative effort. We have coaches, we have servant leaders. We don't have managers as such. They are continuously engaged with the employees, doing continuous improvement and all. So that is a big change which we already started seeing that. And if you ask me, the last major change is on the assessment part. So as Lekha said, we have started moving away from individual assessment. Like I remember when I joined my IT industry, it was like they used to worship heroes, people who can individually resolve any issue without involving the team. those days are gone. Now it's all a team effort, collaboration, innovation. So it's more, rewarded on the team basis, wherein the individual contribution add up to that. So in my view, these are the three major differentiators.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else want to add a point or two?
I just wanted to.
This is Raj.
Shubhra, let Raj give his
Go ahead.
thoughts.
Please, Raj, go ahead.
Sure. So as we get an opportunity to consult across the globe to various Fortune 500 to new age startups, we are today seeing Agile being the lifeline for them to deliver the projects faster or products faster. And then to win in the marketplace, you must win in the workplace first. It's been there during the normal days and also during new normal. Now, what we are seeing as a trend is, if you are conversant with this IT landscape and language, we are using Agile and DevOps, where we are trying to break the walls within these silos. It could be functional departments or within IT itself. We are trying to bring a smaller, very swift, very agile team. So during the initial stages, what we saw is Agile was not at the table. But today, we are seeing the trend of people embedding the talent people, recruitment people also in the Scrum meetings. So that's where the things are moving. And we are also seeing a very good things like measuring engagement, happiness, ENPS, especially in the Agile HR framework. Even Agile HR, you are also mentioning the servant leadership. And they're also trying to enable and measure the overall productivity quite well. So that's the overall transition that has happened and is happening. So that's the trend I am seeing.
Yeah, that's great. And it's not a new thing. What I figured out so far from whatever you guys discussed, it's happening for quite some time, and it will continue to evolve as we go forward. Shubhra, quickly, you want to put some thoughts?
Yeah, I think all of us have covered the most of the major points, but this is just the one thing that comes to my mind when I think of an agile HR organization is a very important aspect of embracing possibilities for the future of work, which I believe is a huge transition from the way HR used to function in the traditional model and the way that talent management, as Lekha added, is gonna be focused on going forward, and currently is being focused, especially which we have seen in the last few years, and especially during this global pandemic situation, even more evolving, and it will evolve further in terms of embracing the future of work, which is a key aspect and would be a very keen attribute that we will all look towards as an organization.
Okay, so thank you, Shubhra, and thank you, everybody. Now, with that background set up on Agile HR, and we all agree the basic understanding of the new talent management, I would say, than HR. Let's look at the new normal. We all know the new normal. I talked a little bit during the brief that the new office is not only within the boundary of the office building, probably the globe, wherever people work on. Like if I'm okay to work from home, the definition of home could be a sea beach. I'm sitting there and working for the office. So the new office is probably everywhere in the globe you can think of. That being said, one of the key aspect or area of understanding about motivation and engagement, we all know the concept of discretionary effort. I used to say to my team that everybody comes to office with 30% of their effort in the pocket. If they like that day of work, they'll take out that 30% and put that effort, thinking that, okay, I did a good job today, right? So there's a difference between what I have to do for my job and what I want to do in the company where I enjoy the work, right? So there is a difference between have to do and I want to do. And I believe HR plays a big role in the, in bringing out that, engagement so that people put that discretionary effort and that increases the productivity, innovation, as well as the employee becomes more happy when he can put that discretionary effort. Now, when it was part within the office building, the HR used to be, part of the discussion, face-to-face discussion, body language, understanding whether somebody is happy or sad, and asking why somebody is sad. Now in the new normal, everybody is at home. So if you can share your thought in this change and how some of the how HR can cope up with this, because this is a very important point for having the company HR focused and bringing that discretionary effort from every employee. So I'll start with this time maybe with Manish. Manish, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So a couple of changes, Shantanu, I think we have already started seeing that. One is on the policy side, we have already seen some changes from HR, on the health and wellness aspect. So, people in the new normal obviously need more comfort working from home, right? So they have tweaked some policies to align with that. Apart from that, the engagement level I'm seeing from the leaders and the HR has gone up. The focus on the intrinsic motivation for the team is applicable much more than any time in the so it is applicable more than any time now. So I'm already seeing that, and the concept of team empowerment, and it's already started bearing fruits. So we are giving more opportunities for the team to self-organize, to take decisions on their own, and that creates self-motivation for the team. So the discretionary effort, as you spoke, is already coming out automatically. We don't have to do extra effort for that. We just create the environment for the team to flourish. And once we do that,
so Manish, sorry, I'll interrupt you there. Yeah, my question was, when everybody was in the office, bringing in that culture, bringing in that intrinsic motivation, as you put it rightly, was better, right? You can actually talk to people, see their face, and the question is how you do that when people are in a different environment of their home. Somebody is rich, having a different room for them to work. Somebody is sitting with their family, maybe in a chair, doing it. So the complexity of that is much more increased. So do you have any thoughts on that before I move to somebody else with the same question?
Yeah, so one is on the technology side. We generally use some video conferencing once in a while to engage with the employees. And apart from that, the leaders are made more sensitive, showing empathy and, the listening side, just to be more flexible with the employees in the new normal. And, to pick up signals, as you said, we are not able to see face-to-face once in a while. So they are probably coached to be more empathetic and pick up signals and take actions accordingly.
Yep. So anybody else? So Raj, you want to add something to it? Raj, you are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. A few things here is like in this new COVID situations, what we are seeing is, obviously we are missing the one-on-one or the physical presence of the teams and their interactions, body language. But what we are instead trying to do is we are doing virtual engagements. It could be team catch-ups, or it could be virtual coffee sessions, and also sometimes we are trying to talk to them, and even HR is being included in some of the meetings, trying to take care of their well-being, asking questions, so on and so forth. So that's one practice which is helping the teams. And also with the new age tools like Microsoft Teams and some of the new tools that are being used for collaboration, we have got far more things in terms of I can show my face as happy, I can show a smiley or whatever. So teams are trying to do that kind of exercises.
Yep. So I'll go to Lekha now from HR side. There must be a lot of things you have through your experience.
No. I promise I'm not going to take up too much of time, but I do want to say that in today's VUCA world, this is something that we've already got used to. HR has been the factor of resilience, right, for the entire company. It's something that we never knew that we're going to be able to experience in this particular lifestyle. But the way in which the pandemic has come, and business continuity planning that we had earlier, we've had to suddenly fast forward it. The digitization that we were already in the process of is suddenly going fast forward. So the way in which I look at it is there has been a lot of steps already by the company to be able to be ready for where we are. Obviously not that ready yet. As far as the employee engagement is concerned, yes, you're absolutely right. In this kind of a phenomenon, it is very difficult to suddenly move from an in-office kind of an atmosphere to something where we're only talking virtually. But I think people of this generation are extremely not just resilient, they're very innovative. So they manage to get together in a lot of other ways. So you have breakout rooms, and the methodology which there is available today only makes that easy. I think there are a lot more huddles, there are a lot more meetings that are there. And like Raj had said, yes, there are a lot of meetings where HR is also being involved and being called to the table. We are also able to involve the family, which earlier we had not really been able to do, in a real-time situation. It only used to be something that was outside. But I think now managers have actually taken the handle on this, and HR has actually become what it's supposed to be, which is a facilitator. That's what I see in the new normal. We're only going to facilitate the manager taking on most of the roles of HR. In fact, I believe that HR is also going to be extinct in a short time from now as a function.
Yeah. I call it enabler. Means they're not support only. Previously, it was like support, right? Now HR is probably at the center stage of the organization to enable every department to do their best, starting from onboarding to whole experience of working as a group through collaboration. So I'll not go to everybody for all the questions. Shubhra, you have anything to add for the time set? Probably quickly do that, and then we'll move on to the next question.
I think there's only one thing that I wanted to add, as Lekha called out about the breakout rooms, right? And I believe some of the technologies, especially like Zoom and as Raj talked about Teams and various other platforms, have actually enabled virtual employee engagement to a level that we wouldn't have thought of otherwise if we would have been in a face-to-face or in a co-location environment. So I believe these kind of enablers or technologies which are available today have made employee engagement even more interesting and innovative in the way that probably we wouldn't have thought otherwise. And probably COVID-19 or the global pandemic has pushed us to that level to think of out of the box in terms of how better we can utilize these technologies to probably engage with our team members virtually.
You are so right. So one of the things I believe take away from any HR on the participant list, that probably try venturing every technology available. You cannot shy away from experimenting with technologies and stick to one solution, what probably you are doing for last several years. Every day new versions are coming out of different technologies. Microsoft Teams is now open. Google Meet is now open. Go through all the features. It will probably really help you to achieve what you're trying to do, even though people are away and be online. So that's a great point, Shubhra. So quickly, I go to the next topic. Next is very sensitive. Now, I'll come to the obvious stuff of assessment. And attached to that is giving feedback to people. Assessment was driven differently before, because if the team is with you in the office as a manager, now I'll ask you to put yourself in the shoe of the manager before you talk from the HR side. You could see the effort people are putting and probably can understand their engagement, their collaboration, their effort. Now in the new normal, you don't see them, and the challenge of only rewarding people or only doing assessment on result has a problem. in the agile world mainly. Recently, you saw there a big discussion going on. The Siemens CEO said, we'll be only doing assessment through result, right? I don't care how many hours you put, what effort you have put, but I'll be only focused on the result you bring in on the table for your assessment. Now, that's the problem we have in the agile world, because if you just talk about the result, people will not do experiment to do things better, faster, or differently. They will just follow a safe way to achieve the result. So, and the innovative people or innovative employee in your organization will not be happy doing it because they want to experiment. And if you do experiment by the very meaning of the word, you may fail as well, right? If you fail, that means you don't produce a result, but you have put a lot of effort, right? Previously, if that employee was in the office, the manager or the scrum master or the HR could actually see the energy around that person, doing a lot of things, but he failed, but he's doing something else to learn again, right? So in this new normal, first question is how you do assessment. How you know how you completely say that I'll not assess on effort, I'll only assess on the result. Or if you say I'll assess on the effort, you need to understand how you can understand the effort somebody is putting. And second question related to that, when you give feedback, whether it is good feedback or bad feedback, when you do face-to-face, you could see the body language of the person, whether it's the right time to give the feedback to him. You probably create a atmosphere, then you talk about that. And now you're doing it online with only seeing the portion of the person, what we are seeing now, right? Only face and probably a little background to it. So my question first to Lekha, I'll go. How do you look at the assessment done in new normal? What HR can do or adopt in this sudden situation today?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's top of mind for every HR right now during this pandemic, Shantanu. And the reason is that, like you stated, that it's very easy to be able to do it on results. But for some time now, there have been a lot of jobs, and I would say a lot of levels, for which results are not the only way to be able to assess performance. We've also looked at behavior, we've looked at competencies, we've looked at the way in which people have collaborated with each other anyway. So, that given, I believe that it is now in this pandemic that actually it has become easier rather than what you're saying that it's difficult. In my opinion, with the kind of work to be done, reports that are going out every morning, which was anyway a part of the working from home, which we had earlier too. But now it has become part of everybody's route, right? So you say, okay, this is what I'm going to try today. For this, I'm going to be able to collaborate with so-and-so. At the end of the day, you say what you've achieved or where you've actually hiccuped. And I think that's where the efforts are being seen. Plus, because this is being done on a regular basis, day after day, what could have been missed in an office situation is actually coming to the table of the manager right now more in the open. So it is my opinion that actually today innovation or the ability to learn from failure and to be able to make those mid-course corrections is far easier today in this kind of an online working from home model than it was earlier. I believe performance management has to do more with just planning, not just looking at the past. It's not diagnostic. It's got to be prognostic as well, to be able to see how I should work for the rest of the year. And it doesn't need to be only annually, like we've already moved to so many models which are quarterly. And this kind of a pandemic situation has allowed us to actually work in a much more freestyle and also something where there is a lot more interaction. There's one more point that I want to add before you move on to somebody else. And that is that, during the performance management system, generally during the appraisal, people have to walk into a manager or walk into HR to be able to maybe have an appeal against a particular rating. Today, that is not required. Even when I'm called, let me say, by my manager for a feedback session, the world doesn't need to know because it's all offline. So it actually gives me a privacy and an anonymity to talk my mind without fear of retaliation because of social mores. So I believe that the performance management system is calling for different measures, definitely, but I believe it's making it easier for managers to be able to look at the effort and for people to be able to speak of their achievements.
Yeah, thanks, Lekha. I believe that's the HR side of it. They think it has become better and easier for manager. Let me hear from manager now. I'm interested to see whether the managers feel this view of HR that it has become easier or better in the new normal. Manish, you want to start? Manish,
Yeah.
yeah.
So definitely easier in the sense that as privacy is there. But the only challenge we are seeing is like results. Definitely, we are moving away from that system. So we are not only focused on results. We have started focusing on the capability. Is the individual or the team building muscle around that capability? If yes, then definitely results will automatically follow, no matter what. If not today, it will be tomorrow. So the transition has already started on that. And working from home, the privacy is definitely there. The only challenge we see is, the employee is not able to explain, as you see, the body language and all that, right? So for that, I think, as I said, the leaders and the managers, there is a coaching which is happening, uh, so that they are more sensitive to when they are talking to employees, giving feedback, all that. So there is a definite training which has been organized by HR to overcome that barrier. Apart from that,
That,
yes, I think it is working very good
Yeah,
from
that's a
our side.
great that's a great point, Manish. I didn't know that HR is actually training leaders now to how to communicate to the employees over online and in one-on-one situation because of the sensitivity of that person being at
Yes, yes,
home. That's a very, very
yes.
positive angle to it. I was not aware. Thank you for bringing that. That's awesome. So Raj,
Yeah, so they are, yeah.
yeah, you guys, anybody wants to add to that?
I just wanted to add one another perspective. Sorry, Raj, if I may.
No, sure, please.
Okay. Yeah. So, so there is one thing that has been reinforced out of this COVID-19 situation is that instead of looking at an employee's performance from the perspective of what they have done well rather than looking at their capability is one of the point that came out that was one of the learnings that we could get out of this global pandemic or COVID-19 has taught us. And as a result of which, I believe one of the aspects that organizations now should focus on is to really look at performance not from the perspective of the existing skill sets or the capabilities rather than the potential that that employee has, and which I believe is a huge paradigm shift that's happening in the sense of how performance management is being looked at in at a broader level from a broader perspective, and that would actually is a shift which is taking place and which would add great value in terms of an organization standpoint.
Great. Raj, you want to say something?
Yeah, there is this thing called what you measure is what you get, right? If you're measuring output, the teams know how to beat that metric. And if you're only uh, possessed or obsessed with outcome, people will also show you. But it's always about the moderation, it's not about only output or outcome. There should be a balance of output and also outcome. So when we are not able to see the teams, especially that is the main challenge as of now in COVID situation, right? But as I see, we already transitioned into distributed global delivery teams. So my manager sits somewhere in Chicago. My team's spread across. So we don't see each other face to face regularly. But in spite of that, we are in touch with them teams regularly, virtual meetings. And we're also seeing one, how do the teams create visibility to whatever they are trying to create or showcase? So we are also trying to bring some humanism to the data that is coming out. So some of the metrics that come to us in terms of the number of hours spent versus the number of deliveries done, we are able to bring some balance. Our teams, HR teams are working, especially when I consulted to one of the particular teams, they are putting a nice framework trying to bring data humanism into existence. That means nobody can question saying that, okay, now you're saving on the commute time, so why don't you put more hours? In fact, the managers have learned unlearned the old work practices and are starting to ask, saying that, okay, now how do you create a better way of creating the outcome instead of spending it in terms of the hours. So I think the transition is happening, which is good. So that's where I'm seeing the new age techniques and metrics are also coming into place.
Yeah, that's a great point. All great points, right?
May
I heard. Sure.
I'd like to add one point out here. In this complete performance management system, another thing that is coming up is because we are able to see leaders on the floor who have come up without actually being trained for leadership, right? So you have somebody who, and we always say that employability is nothing but a combination of capability and capability. So here the capability is anyway already being seen on the floor. But the capability during this pandemic, where people are all stressed out, you're actually able to see the motivators on the floor among the team, which was not something which we had seen earlier. So it's actually giving rise to a different level of leadership which is coming up, and which is helping the managers to be able to manage their teams better, which is, I think, another positive part of performance.
Yeah. So I have only one point to add this before we move to next topic. Uh, I heard all of you telling a lot of new things, right? Like Shubhro talked about doing assessment on their potential. So that means the manager and HR needs to understand how to measure potential, which they are not doing probably in the past, right? So how do you see? So I see a big gap of or need of learning from everybody to cope up with the new normal today. Because if you want to measure somebody about with their potential, which is very subjective, because I can be not interested today, but tomorrow I can be very interested on something. I still remember I used to hate history before. Now history was one of my favorite subjects today. To know what happened in the human history in the past. So I'm not going into details of how to measure potential, but do you guys agree that there is a huge need of learning and learning very fast for even HR, including the manager, leader, to cope up with the new normal, to get into all the beautiful, great things you all are talking about today. So that brings to me to the next topic, that learning and development. In a broader scale, learning and development was maturing over a period of time. We had a mixed version of classroom, blended version, people call classroom versus online versus workshop, like that typical 70-20-10 rule, which was pretty interesting, that 70% of the learning comes from on-hand job you do, 20% from the community, and 10% from actually classroom or online. So all those theories are there, but in the new normal, as we understood so far, that the pace of learning has to be very fast today, right? Even for HR, even for the developer tester. So now we knew a learning model in the past where people are in the office, we have 40 hours per week, per year. Somebody must spend on learning this subject at this level, right? A lot of very standard, right? A developer at level 3C must complete these courses to be applying for his promotion, all those structured way of doing things. And HR is to only gather the data, who has done it or who hasn't done it, inform them, please do it, otherwise you'll not get a promotion. So from that to now, where the whole approach of learning in the office is challenged because people are not in the office. And we just established the fact that people need to learn a lot of new things very fast. So how HR can address that issue as a company, what you see the companies are doing. So now I'll go start with HR first. So Lekha, you are on the spot.
Absolutely. So I think, like you've stated very correctly, L&D has kind of moved to a blended model long back. What the pandemic has done for us right now is to be able to allow that structure to be largely very, very much more flexible. So I'm able to tell people that these are what we as a company would like you to learn. What else would you like to learn? So it's really the onus on the employee to be able to say what is their learning going to be, and to be able to share that back with the company or with their teams. I think there's a lot more of this rotation of learning which is coming up, the sharing model which is coming up more now. The second thing I'd like to state is that you have this culture of SMEs, which has been there before as well, the subject matter experts from the floor. I think that is also something which is growing. So people who you never thought would actually be able to now come online and share their information, or they were so busy heads down with their development work or with testing, today are coming onto the floor and actually, having these small groups of people with whom they are sharing. And I think the third thing I'd like to state, which has happened, which is really a benefit, is that no longer do I, as a company HR, have to worry about getting a person physically online or into the office to be able to talk to my people. So I can source learning and sharers from anywhere across the world. In their time zone is also okay. I'd be able to also record it because of the technology and be able to share it across multiple places. I did a training program recently for a company with 7 different offices across continents. And I think it was such a wonderful experience to be able to share knowledge and to be able to get from them as well. And I think that is the beauty of where we are today. The fact that we've gone online, been able to meet people across dimensions, across time, across zones, across companies. Another thing that's happening is things like what you all are doing, like ANI is doing, where you're able to share information across companies, which earlier we were very limited to actually learning within the company, right? Today, there's so much of cross learning which is happening, which is actually helping the entire domain itself. So I think it's again, you're going to say that I'm very positive, but I really believe that the pandemic has given rise to HR at the table and the table themselves. So I'm very positive
Yeah.
about it.
No, I agree with you. So one of the big thing happened is the boundary has increased for resources availability as well. As you rightly said, if so, what I see is as you need to learn fast, you use the word SME. That's extremely important. If I don't know how to measure for their potential, as Shubhra was saying in the previous discussion, I may really want to have somebody quickly who is great in that, expert in that area, even if that person is in New Zealand, to help my HR team to do that. That we can do today, or we could do before also, but we never thought about it. Now in this new normal, that could be the main thing we'll be doing. That's why we are calling it new normal, to think out of the box and go ahead and ask for help from SMEs from different parts of the world, not only within your company who knows best, or my boss knows everything. Those are gone. So yeah, so Shubhro, I see you wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add on to the point that Lekha said, I think technology here also plays a very key role in terms of the way it has revamped the entire learning experience across organizations, and especially technologies like AI-based learning and recommendations, um, the latest learning platforms, the over the top learning platforms or the learning technologies which are available and the resources which are available has really made learning very easy and accessible across geographies, across the global platform, which has made the overall experience of learning very seamless and also very intuitive for the users to be able to experience a learning environment that might that was, for a lack of a better word, was very restricted if it was just instruction led. Now, because of this evolution, it has created a huge opportunity, and obviously this has also added, if I look at it from an industry standpoint, this has added to the overall growth in the learning industry itself.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Somebody was saying during our previous talk, Manish, you remember that some companies are giving Baizu, I think Lekha, you were saying, Baizu, subscription to the kids of the people, so that the people can work peacefully as well. So learning is something which has become a gift as well. Previously, the gifts were different. Now, ability to learn is a gift too. That's very interesting. So, Manish, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a couple.
1 minute, Manisha, just to clarify for the audience what Shantanu just said. That is actually encouraging learning in the family, right? So it's not only for the employee themselves. Employee is busy in a meeting, the children are troubling him, so therefore give the child Byju's app so the parent does not need to spend time in helping the child learn. So I think as a whole, we are actually increasing the learnability of the entire family too in these COVID times. Sorry, that was just to explain that for the audience.
Sure. Manish, go ahead.
Yeah, so just 2 points. I think, as you said, the days of learning just once in a year are gone. So I think we are in a world of continuous learning, and now with this new normal, things have become much more easier. I remember when there was a training which used to be organized, and travel used to be there, budget was approved. Not everyone was able to attend those trainings, but now in this new normal, those trainings are available online. So it's become much more easier, flexible. I can do it, take it any in my time. So that has basically led to increased learning. And personally, in my company, I have seen in this new normal, people have done so many certifications within these 5 months. Probably they have not done in last 5 years. And so that is the kind of learning which is happening. So individual learning definitely has gone up drastically.
Yeah. So Raj, thoughts on this?
So what I'm seeing as a trend, especially in agile world, most of you would be appreciating this fact of continuous learning, as my learned colleague also spoke about that. So this in agile world, especially in self-sufficient Scrum teams, right? We are expecting the teams to be cross-functionally skilled, number one. Number two is you are talking about full stack engineer, site reliability engineer, and so on and so forth. So that means it's not just a person brings in one or a similar set of skills today, but an entirely different stack of these skills. So what we are encouraging and what I'm seeing the trend is the learnability. In fact, we are also asking them to subscribe to Coursera, Learn How to Learn by this lady, popular lady from Angela Duckworth. In fact, that is one of the most important things that these teams are recommended and encouraged to do that. Because today the shelf life of a skill is not more than 2 to 3 years. What I learned 2 to 3 years back is no more valid, or it has lost its relevance. So there's a continuous learning. But in this context, how HR is playing a role is very important. And I've seen the teams working closely with the project managers, trying to design the curriculum. And in fact, as Lekha and others have also mentioned that today it's nothing like a sage on the stage model. It's like enabling them to learn. I can be given a coupon or an access to a learning institute. It could be Khan Academy or whatnot. So that's what is the trend is happening. And more importantly, we are also encouraging teams to unlearn. So that's one metric we also seen. And some of the newer startups have implemented a metric called unlearning. Yeah, it's still yet to come and see the light of the day in terms of how it is working, but they have started that. Yeah.
So that's good. Sorry. Sorry. I remember in my childhood, obviously I'm not a young person now. In my childhood, the gift from my parents in my birthday was a book to read, right? A storybook or some interesting book, adventure story. I believe those days are coming back. That when since after that I saw gifts have become probably a new phone or something else. Now I believe the gift will come back to probably a learning course on Coursera, even from the companies to encourage and give more importance to the learning of people. And that this is a big topic. And again, I'm coming back that we talked about technology. We talked about AI-based learning system, which helps you to learn faster because it can lead you to see where you are and take you to the right direction. So again, we are talking about everybody quickly jumping into the technology bandwagon and not be fearful. Experiment with new softwares coming up, new technology coming up, new startups, as Raj said, coming up with new thoughts. So experimentation has become probably much more important in today's world with whatever new things are coming up in the technology space to facilitate and enable all these experiences we are talking about, including learning. I saw for some reason Shubhro is shown as left. I hope he will resolve it and come back soon. Until then, we'll continue with our discussion. So next topic is pretty interesting to me. Oh, Shubhro is back. Very interesting to me. Of course, I left a job 2 years back to become independent consultant, an agile coach, and management consultant. But until that time I left, I used to see HR doing certain things which I was very curious about. That's why they do. I used to see that ethnic dress competition, rangolis in the office, balloons in front of the room of the person whose birthday is that. I still remember my managing director used to take holiday on his birthday just to avoid those balloons and people asking him why balloons are there in front of your door. And so many activities, right? So many activities during Diwali, during this. We thought, and we were, though I didn't understand much because I'm not from HR background, though I understand a little bit about it, what is the importance of those? And those activities probably brought people close to talk about something different than their project or work every day they do together all the time anyway. So all those are gone. Those are not important anymore. How HR is spending their time not doing Rangoli competition and those fun activities, Fun Friday today. So I'll put Lekha on the spot first. Lekha, HR, what are you doing?
I mean, I was actually laughing because, the way in which you talked about it was so funny, but it's so true that, people actually, some older people like me for whom birthdays are no longer congratulations, it's actually condolence messages at this point. We do tend to kind of stay at home on those days, but there's still a lot of activities that are being done by HR. I've heard of Antakshari competitions which are being done on a meeting online. And I've heard wives of the employees often say, oh, so this is how you spend your time. And I thought you're working hard, So it's actually making it very difficult to be able to get those activities. But those activities are extremely important to be able to create the bonding and the
Lekha, sorry for interrupting you. I want you to really talk about the intent of that activities and how those intents are still served when people are not in that office. Because I didn't mean that HR was the party planner. Somebody commented, I saw that. So I just wanted to clarify, I did not want to hurt anybody's feeling. I just trying to be funny there. So Lekha, please focus on, what was the intent of those and how those intent can still be achieved in today's world.
Absolutely. So I think, the intent is extremely important. It is to be able to bond people together between themselves, and also to be able to create that loyalty to the company. If I can make the workplace or that work timing enjoyable, then I'm looking at it at also relaxing and breaking barriers to create that sense of camaraderie across the team, which is so important. And to be able to also open up different nuances of conversation. Somebody likes books, for example, to be able to talk about, okay, what's the book that you read now recently during the pandemic is something, again, which is being done across, being done online. But the idea is to be able to see the personal side of people such that you create this emotional bank account, like Stephen Covey had stated, and also Daniel Goleman, in fact, had stated in his book on AI. I think it's extremely important to be able to make work life, that those 8 hours or 9 hours, or sometimes, in fact, 10 hours at work, to be something that people enjoy, not to the exclusion of their homes, but at least it does not seem to be such a drudge. I think in these days of the pandemic, it's even more important, Shantanu, Because if I do not see people with whom I'm working, at least if I'm having activities with them online, at least I'm able to still create that sense. Otherwise, my fear is that the loyalty to the company is otherwise going to go down. And I'm going to find people, therefore, resorting to gig and perhaps also dual employment or triple employment to be able to just take on if I'm only going to be measured on my delivery. So we have to be able to continue with such activities, which is not fun activities. It's supposed to be fun for the employees, but there is definitely a thread of intent behind it.
You are so right. You are so right. If I work on a project for a client and I don't have any other connection with the company, if I work from home, I rather feel that employee of that company or client than my own company, unless I have those activities. That's great. So let me hear from somebody from delivery. Manish, do you think your team is missing those activities, or some activities are helping out?
Yeah, so all those activities are done virtually, like Antakshni or quizzes, online Kahoots. Everything is happening online. In fact, they have gone up because we don't need to worry about the budget. Earlier, there was a budget constraint, and we had to take approvals and all that. Now, because of this virtual, all those activities have gone up. The only drawback is on the office parties, which probably we used to happen once in a quarter or once in a month. Those are the only things which probably we are not able to probably replicate or manage that. I think there would be some people are working on that, and they would come up with some kind of a way around for that. But apart from that, all those things are happening virtually, and in fact has gone up every day. We have that with the employees.
So you think your team is not missing much of being in touch with the company in a more loyal way, fun way?
No, they're not missing that, and because we have given them flexibility. I think one of the questions also, if you see on the chat, they're asking on the work-life balance and all that. So if you give enough flexibility to employees and manage that, I think it works out pretty well.
Okay, Shubhro, quick 2 points, and Raj, first Shubhro.
I think as Manish added, as well as Lekha was adding, the intent behind these activities is very clear, and this goes back or ties back to the well-being of employees, and which is one of the key aspects and is one of the important attributes. If I look at, say, the 2020 global human capital trends, or even the last year's human capital trend. So if you look at it from the standpoint of well-being, these activities are important. Obviously, the challenges, as Manish called out and also Lekha called out, there are a few challenges in terms of holding these activities virtually. However, because of the technology platforms, as I said earlier, it has become a little bit more easier to bring everyone together and have these activities in a much more cohesive way, rather than compared to as it was when it was done at a same location and physically. Because obviously with the technology and with the video conferencing facilities and with these various mediums that we have, obviously there isn't any constant in terms of bringing everyone together, or there is no constant of budget, as Manish was saying, as a result of which it ties back to the overall larger purpose of well-being, which is a key attribute, and which all organizations should focus, especially during this time. And it has become even it has reinforced even more during this COVID-19 era.
Okay, thanks, Shubhro. I always see that you go back to your focus and suggestion to HR and everybody to really explore different technology coming up during this time, and different online even collaboration tools coming up, so that those can be used for doing similar things, what get the same value what you used to get before. Before I move to next, Raj, a few comments from you.
Yeah, three things that I've seen recently is one of my senior leaders who does one-on-ones. He said, okay, let's get on to the call and switch on the camera. He said, Raj, don't bother. I actually had to wash the dishes, so it's okay for you. I too said the same thing. Yes, I am doing the same thing, but we can still connect. So, I mean, that kind of camaraderie, leaders are also opening up, and that's one thing. Two is my boss, super boss, conducts no agenda meetings every week. You can join in the call and talk anything. That's also one good practice I'm seeing. And today I got off a call with a client, which is really good, which doesn't actually happen during the office time, but it is happening because of the virtual connect. So they said, okay, bring your own drink and show your drink while you are, having this catch-up meeting. So
that's a good excuse to tell your family, my boss wanted me to drink.
Yeah, yes, true. So it's a good, unwinding and also catching up on a few things which in normal office settings is not happening, but because of this COVID, it is happening. That's a positive side. So yes, these are the three things that I could recall.
Okay, that's fantastic, and I believe definitely few takeaways we see from there. So maybe the last question before we start taking a lot of questions on the QA chat area. Are you looking at I believe Raj talked about some measures, right? Engagement or unlearning something a new startup is working on. We know when it comes out. Any new measurements you guys are seeing people are doing to understand how they're coping up or achieving the real intents from HR side into the new normal? Now, coming to metrics, I don't want we go with the obvious ones, but if you have something you saw which is not there before, let's talk about it. If we don't have it, I'm okay to jump into the questions. So go to Manish.
So I think on the EQ part, it was already there. It's nothing new, but I've seen the focus has gone up. It was slightly implicit, and but now it is becoming more explicit, and it has started coming up in the the KPIs for the leaders and managers. So that change, I'm already seeing that.
I think one of the ones that I'm seeing is that of looking at employee happiness, not just satisfaction now. That is going to be very, very critical if I need to be able to, look at that thread, which is actually going to hold them. That's one. The other thing is the efficacy of training. I mean, it's not just looking at the efficiency or the effectiveness, but is that really going to be important even in the long run? Is it something which is going to be collaborative learning, for instance, is another point. And I think we're going to look more and more at lead indicators rather than lag indicators. So it's not so much about how people have behaved in the past, but what is it that is going to lead them to be more collaborative for the future? And I think that is the essence of looking at different kinds of metrics today. That's what I wanted to add.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else like Shubhra? You want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think there would be another piece that we are focusing on, and this is something that I already added before, is just about the well-being index of the employees, and which is becoming very, very important, especially given the fact we are right now in a very difficult situation and an unprecedented times where well-being is the primary focus of all of us, and we are and organizations are investing heavily in terms of focusing on the employee well-beings, which is one of the top priorities that everyone is looking at. And it is better if organizations start capturing in terms of any metric related to well-being or any indexes that would help gauge the overall well-being parameters of the employees of an organization level, which is, I believe, is a good indicator.
And I believe every HR department or people, even the managers, are really experimenting on how to measure, because whatever you guys told so far are very, very subjective. How to measure well-being, how to measure engagement. So I believe all the companies are doing their own experiments of doing it, and that's fun, right? And doing that is probably much easier now because you have a lot of data, because everybody is online, a lot of data coming into the system. So, Raj, you have anything before we go to the questions? There are so many questions.
None. One particular practice we used to have is after every meeting, which is one of the most fearful thing in our IT world. a lot of meetings, right? So after every meeting, we used to ask the teams to leave a sticker on the door. We used to give, I mean, they can pick up any kind of a smiley, one frowning face and one a smiley face and one a straight face. Yeah, so that's a kind of a practice we are also seeing now to ask teams after a meeting or at the end of the day, can you share your sticker?
Yep, yep.
The mood of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So those are the experimentation we do. So we have very little time, a lot of questions, and we really like it. So there is a question from Kirti Joshi that we are getting some concern from employees on work-life balance, right? I remember working from home for almost 1 year in Bangalore because I was working with a team in Hyderabad. So my family, my wife used to call me for dinner, and I was working, and I had to go out for half an hour walk before I can even eat because my brain was completely focused on the work. I cannot just get up from my work and start eating or interacting with my family because that would be very weird because my brain was completely occupied with the work. So how you suggest, because that is the biggest challenge now, that people at home understanding that thought that I was working, I cannot just switch off and start smiling and being attentive to home-related activities. And that's putting pressure on the employee as well. So what are the suggestions, or I think, how do you advise employees? That's the question from Kirti Joshi.
So on the work-life balance, Shantanu, I think we have to be, I think from the employees, they need to be slightly more disciplined. I've seen employees who are very, particular, and in fact, in the afternoon, they have clearly stated that, they're not available during this time, probably half an hour when they are taking a quick power nap, which is perfectly accepted by other team members and, going well. And other one is on the breaks. I think yes, and we have to be very cognizant that breaks are required. And as I said, the managers and the leaders are given training to be more respectful, on sensitive on those topics.
Yeah. I think the managers need to actually tell today to the employee that it's okay to do it tomorrow. I don't need it today. Go and spend time with your family. It's saying that is important. It's not only meaning it. It's important, probably. Anybody wants to add? Shubhro, you raise hand.
Yeah, I would just go back to the point of work-life balance, and this is something that I recently learned, and from our leaders, is that there isn't anything known as work-life balance. There is, the term itself has changed to work-life integration. So now work and life is integrated. There are no separate entities, and even it has become even more evident and reinforced with the extensive work from home and the virtual environment because of COVID-19. I believe it has become an integral part, life and work together. It's been integrated very well. So I think it is very important to acknowledge this fact, and also as Manish was sharing and as something you added, it is very important to have mm, mm, have have that have that point very clear in terms of our mind, in terms of that the way work is integrated in our life today, it has become an integral part, and the way that we are, even if we are working in a virtual environment, there are certain aspects of our work which we need to keep, we need to consider as we used to while we were in an office environment. So I believe that is the mindset change that we need to bring in terms of thinking of it as an integral part rather than two separate entities.
Okay. Probably need to invest.
Can I add something here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Kriti, my answer is to Kriti largely, and thank you for that question, Kriti. I would like to agree with Shubhro where he stated about work-life integration. But I still want to make this distinction that when we look at work-life, and I would like to in fact use the choice of work-life choice more than work-life integration, because you choose which aspect you would like to thrust on which particular day or which time of the day. And the second thing I want to say is when you look at work life, it's not only between your office and your family. You have to have your me time. You need to have your social time. You need to be able to look at your wellness. You need to be able to look at your music, maybe. Whatever are your leisure activities, your passion for photography. There's so many things. 8 of these spheres together make up your work life. And I believe, like what Shantanu had started with saying, I think it's important for families as well as managers to realize that there will have to be this transition time between one phase and another. Just like when people were going back from work, it was possibly easy for me to be able to say, all right, I'm on this road. At this particular point, I stopped thinking about work and I'm going to start thinking of home. So I'm already reorienting myself towards my home when I'm going towards it. And I think we need to be able to be very cognizant of this particular issue and be able to give people the time and space to adapt. The second point I want to state, and like your question about how do we work with employees around this, I think the idea is to be able to tell employees to explain this to people around them, to talk about it. Like we say, even at the workplace, it's so important to have this communication lines which are open. I believe that even with your family and with your manager, please make sure that people understand the boundaries, right? So, for instance, when you're on a call, it's nice if nobody comes and disturbs you during the call with work. Similarly, if it is your home time, let's say it's after 6:30, suddenly the pandemic has had no line drawn at all. You're available at home maybe 24/7, which is not fair to the family. So I think to be able to draw that line is very important. I like the idea that, Manish had started, Manish, or I don't know who it was who said about power naps in the afternoon. Maybe it was you, Shantanu. So I
Yeah, that
think
was
it's
Manish.
important for people to drive that line.
Yeah, that was Manish. Anything else you want to add, Raj, before we move to the next? We have very little time.
No, I'm good. I think pretty much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so one interesting question. I'm not picking up all the question. I'm picking up the interesting questions a little bit. Any plan, so we see the change of scope of job, means the new skills required for HR to be successful, who are more technology savvy, who is experimenting, who understand a lot of topics we just discussed today. How, the question is, I'll read the question. Any panelists, please answer. Post-COVID, do you see any change in scope of Agile, other job prospects for middle-aged career? I don't know if you guys want to address that. Scope of job prospect post-COVID, I believe it's same. Only thing what I can think of a question out of this question is more of how you suggest the new HR to be prepared, how you suggest the new managers, leaders to be prepared for the new normal.
So, in my opinion, there is something, first of all, we need to know, and that is that what we are in today is not the new normal at all. We don't even know what the new unknown is. It's really unknown. How much of today are we going to take into tomorrow, and how much of yesterday are we going to bring back into tomorrow, is something which is still being thought of and being debated in various circles. So, in my opinion, there is a lot of agility which is required, a lot of adaptability which is required, and an ability to move with the times and not be restricted. I think that flexibility is so critical. And I'm not sure if this is only about job prospects for HR or is it a generic thing for Agile in various functions. That's what I want to say.
Anybody else want to add to it? Somebody's trying to speak. Can you switch off your microphone, please?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, especially in this new age world of digital and agile, and also with this COVID thing, right? As we already discussed, that the shelf life of a skill is very small, and continuous learning is the key. If you have to learn one thing, it is your learnability. If somebody has to measure your success today, it is learnability. If I have to hire somebody onto my team, it is going to be the learnability. So if somebody can bring in a new set of skills, but they are of no use within shorter period of time because the technology change is happening so fast, he will be of no use. He will be, dead investment on my team. So that is one key skill that we have to look for. And if you are able to invest yourself to become like that, that's where you need to focus on. That's one skill you definitely need to have in your kitty.
Okay, good. So I'll read. I'm rephrasing some of the questions to make it more meaningful for the discussion of the whole audience, rather. Yeah, for every participant. So, what could be the role of an HR to reduce the online meeting and exposure of headset and online, exposure of the screen time? I'll actually change that question a little bit to add to it. That are you talking about, or is HR is responsible and definitely responsible, talking to the management to actually give good headset, good screen to the employees today, or they are asking the employees to go ahead and buy stuff. This is for you to do job with us. You need to buy one. What kind of trend you're seeing there that the company is spending money on that? Because that's a raw money, having a good headset and having a good screen.
I think it's essential, if I may take the baton at this time. I think it's important for the company to be able to invest, because obviously this is something which was uncalled for and was not in my original employment contract, for instance. So in my opinion, yes, it has to be the organization that takes on that role, whether they are paying it out upfront or they are buying it and sending it home, or asking the employees to buy it and then reimbursing. Whatever it is, the cost, in my opinion, must be borne by the company, because it is going to be a part of the work itself. It is an infrastructural need. You do not want the employee to have a problem with ears or with eyes later on as well. So I think it's essential. And it's not just that, it is also to be able to, not just the data card, for instance, even inverters. I know companies are even thinking about picking up an inverter and making sure it is there at employees' homes, so that there is no disturbance to the actual continuity of work. So there are some things which are, yes, infrastructure which needs to be bought by the company.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just want to point out, Kirti on the chat said every employee in her company gets $300 per person to buy some of the stuff they need to be comfortable. Shubhra, you raised hand.
Yeah, I was just adding on to that, as Kriti said, as well as Lekha pointed out, there are many companies who are investing heavily in terms of either through the form of a one-time payout or through a reimbursement model, where they are encouraging their employees to invest in their infrastructure needed in order to seamlessly work in a virtual environment, which is really encouraging, because this is something which is an unprecedented time and hasn't been called for, as Lekha pointed out, and was not part of our initial contractual agreement. And as a result of which, the companies are really encouraging the employees to and contributing on behalf of the employees, so that they are able to contribute largely to the organization's purpose.
So I have a question mainly first towards with the development leaders here, then I'll come to Rekha to add any value there from HR side. So one question Aarti asked, how the Agile platform affecting the process of developing relaxing work pressure? So how much the Agile way of development helping people in this current situation where they are working from home to be working in a more relaxed way? I believe that's the question Aarti meant. That is Agile way of working helping anyway to cope up with the new situation? Raj, you want to go?
Yes. Agile itself is designed in such a way to put some caps on the workload, especially in terms of the limiting your work in progress, right? So they're all built on the lean principles. And then if you are still under pressure, even if you are working in Agile, you are not really applying Agile in the right way. Okay, so there's this concept called 80% of the team should be loaded and 20% should be left to other activities. And now within the COVID times, I'm seeing the clients even, we are convincing them, in fact, they are okay to say that we don't need to load 80%, but we are okay to load them 70%, because they have to cope up at homes. There are a lot of distractions, working from homes. So this time, that is 30% that is there, you need to have that kind of a discipline, or your managers, or you need to have your agile coach talk to your teams and introduce some of these features like hurdles or virtual coffee sessions. So that's one thing you can actually do. And then there is a retrospective that you can actually use to bring out some of these challenges and see how you can fix them as a team. See, in an agile world, you are the self-sufficient team, right? So you have got the authority, you have got the autonomy, that you have got the transparency, and you got the trust the system. So if it is there, then it's all about implementing it.
Yeah, sorry. I think we have got that time.
Santanu, yeah.
Rohit, one second.
Yep.
I think we got at the end of the discussion today because of the time limit. We may have few questions which we did not answer. Maybe Rohit will help getting those answers to the people who joined. I thank everybody. Thanks Lekha, thanks Shubro, thanks Manish, Raj, and unfortunately we could not have Bobby participate because of the situation we have there. So over to Rohit. Rohit, please.
Yeah. On behalf of Agile Network India, we thank Santanu for great facilitation of this event, and we also thank our panelists Subro, Manish, Lekha, Raj, and Bobby. Thank you, participants, and hope to see you guys for the next 2 days also.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks all the panelists.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
And in case of any assistance with respect to any details with respect to the other events which we have planned for this month, you can always get in touch with us on our email, community@agilenetworkindia.com.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Thank you.